Got a question for you today. Have you ever worked in a dysfunctional culture, environment that's dysfunctional?
Ouch.
Actually, Ed Catmull, president of Pixar, he says, pardon me, I got to look at my screen here and read this. He says, a hallmark of a healthy creative culture is that its people feel free to share ideas, opinions, and criticisms. Lack of candor, if unchecked, ultimately leads to dysfunctional environments. Welcome to the Value Added Podcast. We're obviously talking about creating a healthy culture, hence why we ask if you've ever been part of a dysfunctional one.
Yeah.
And think through what that was like for you.
Yeah. I know I have a couple of times, actually. And what a difference it makes when you move from one to the other.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's like a breath of fresh air when you actually move into a healthy culture. And it just reinforces a very popular saying in the workforce and in corporate life is that people don't quit jobs because of the work they're doing. They quit their jobs because of people in the culture. And maybe it's a boss, maybe it's a coworker. So having a healthy culture just brings such a breath of fresh air to an organization. And how to create that, that's kind of a key skill to have to be able to, if you're the leader or if you're a leader of a group within the organization, to know you're doing what you can to bring that healthy culture forward.
Yeah. So hopefully by the end of the podcast, episode today, you'll understand and see, if you don't already, what a healthy culture looks like, right? And maybe how to start creating one.
Right. Right. So let's talk a second about what makes a good foundation for a healthy culture. And then Jared and I were talking this through. We came up with 3 things that we think are kind of key to have that healthy culture. And the first one is creating a safe environment. You want your people to be able to feel safe, not just physically, but emotionally safe, where they can come and just be the authentic selves.
Right.
Right. And that's the kind of a current buzzword in corporate life, is being authentic.
Yeah, nobody wants to fake it till they make it.
No.
Right? Especially when you're talking about their personalities and what they can bring to the table, and you want it to be a safe place, for them to feel heard, valued, and understood.
And you don't want to feel like you have to put on a face or a mask or pretend to be something you're not when you walk into the organization, a building, or wherever you're at. You just want to be able to say, this is me inside and outside of this of organizational environment. Yeah. So creating a safe environment, making people feel comfortable, that there's no risk to them emotionally, physically, mentally, all of that. Number 2, people, make sure they feel valued, right? There's always going to be opportunities for people to do better and grow, and you want to coach them to be better and grow. But we can't forget about saying, hey, you really contributed here. Thank you so much for doing that. And if you sit down and think about it, it doesn't take very long.
Right.
And it's not too difficult to find even the smallest thing. And you'll probably find larger things as well, of something, hey, they really helped out. This is really their strength. They did good in this area. Their personality brings this to the table. They have a skill set in this area. I had a friend at work who's really good at Excel spreadsheets, and I hate Excel spreadsheets and doing formulas, right? So I'm like, Josh, can you please help me out? And so in a team meeting, I said, I just want to publicly say thank you, Josh. He kind of saved my bacon with this project and helping me resolve some formulas in Excel. And that's just making him feel valued.
That's Peter in our organization that I work with. Right, there's always like 4, 5, 6, sometimes 10 to 15 people where I'm involved, right, where I'm leading, and they're behind the scenes. So the recognition for them, really never happens publicly, or hardly ever happens publicly. And there's often a chance that they're going to go missed by us as leaders as well. So us just kind of them flying under the radar, we forget to say, hey, thank you so much for what you're bringing to this organization, what you're doing. They're quiet, they're reserved, they get stuff done. They're building their own little teams, they're working hard. It's those kinds of people that after a while can fly under the radar. You forget to go talk to them and say, hey, man, you're doing really well. You're doing really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're human. We all have patterns and rhythms we like to fall into to stream life work. And We have an order of things we do to get ready in the morning, and we bring that order of how we do things at work, and we just forget. We get so caught up in our daily interactions and going about our day, we forget to say, nice job, well done.
Right.
Yeah. So again, safe environment, 1, 2, helping people feel valued. And the third one is helping people feel like they're contributing. And that kind of goes hand in hand with feeling valued. But when someone does something that moves the ball forward for your organization, it really accomplishes a goal, they contributed in that area. Maybe you have a project everyone's working on and they all have these pieces together. Our church had a 50th anniversary celebration, and we put together a team to put together a couple of events, and really making sure each of them felt heard and that they really helped contribute. And each one had their own skills. One was really good about organization. Another was really good with design. Another good with, speaking and making announcements and that being that public presence. So just taking time and letting them know, hey, you're really good at this. You made this project a world of difference because you did this.
And you and I talk so much about this, Bill, because we both in his professional workplace and then in my vocation. Again, I'm a pastor. A lot of you know that already. But allowing people to contribute is paramount to a healthy culture.
Absolutely.
Paramount. I look at my leaders and even this week I've called and had meetings with 2 or 3 of them just to run something by them. And then the second thing was I needed their help making a tough decision. I didn't want to make it without them because I knew it's going to directly affect what they do within the church. So, bringing them a safe environment, allowing them to feel valued, and then recognizing what their contributions are, that is the foundation of a healthy culture.
And flip that around a little bit. Does any of you listening or watching on YouTube, do you ever wake up and go, man, I hope I have no opportunity to contribute in the organization today? Yeah. We all want to feel like we are making a difference. We are participating. We are engaged. It's key. So the 3 things: safe environment, making people feel valued, and then making them feel like they are contributing in the process.
Yeah, and that's going to lead really us to discuss the purpose of values in a healthy culture, right? So if you have the foundation of safe environment, people feel valued, they're going to recognizing contributions. Let's talk for a minute, Bill, on the values in the said healthy culture. Values really, we're going to answer the question, or should values for a healthy culture really are going to answer the question of who are we as an organization.
Yeah, my corporation, our church that we go to, have values that we operate around. This is what we do and why we do it. So values provide 3 things. They provide a purpose, they provide a direction, and they provide identity. And as we were talking about this earlier, I was thinking in terms of a GPS. We all have GPSs, got them on our phones, got them everywhere now, on your smartwatch these days as well. And you put in a destination in your GPS. That's where you're going. That's where we want this organization to head towards. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
It leads the vehicle.
And then you can take different routes of how to get there. Some may be safer than others. There may be construction or roadblocks or other things that you come across in the process. So there's being a destination, there's having a direction, and then there's identity. Who's in the car with you, right? Who's the family going on the trip with you? So values really provide structure to these 3 areas. Again, the destination, the direction, your identity really brings about purpose, direction, identity.
Yeah, it's so true. And if you think of some of the companies or organizations or even ministries, churches, wherever you find yourself, it's the ones that are successful are often the ones that are beat to death. Everybody in the organization is sick of hearing about their values, but they know the importance of reiterating them to themselves and to the people.
Yeah, I have 2 college degrees, and one of my professors talked about what was called the Nehemiah principle. He said, if you're not repeating your values and your purpose statement every 30 days to your people, they're going to forget. Right? They're going to drift, and there's going to be a value or purpose drift in your organization unless you are keeping it forefront, right? And if you don't, again, the people lose sight of where they're going and why they're going there.
Right. So that's huge. So really what you're explaining, Bill, is that and maybe you've heard this term before, but values serve as riverbanks.
I do.
Right. So they keep you, I should say healthy values really serve as riverbanks. And you have all the entirety of the river and the width of it to kind of play around and to move and to go, but you're moving in the same direction and you're kind of staying within those parameters again for giving people the destination. Kind of the river is the route, and then you've got who's coming with you, but it's all contained within riverbanks, values and values on each side. And I would say if there's three things that healthy values do, right? You've got they lead to stability, which is huge.
Right.
Right. And we could probably talk about that. We'll come back to these in a second here. The second one is healthy values lead to longevity, right?
They do.
Especially once you've been doing it long enough and people catch the vision and they're passionate about it. There's going to be longevity that comes with that. So stability, longevity, and then healthy values attract and inspire and they motivate, right? So they're going to attract other people. Are going to say, man, I would like to partner with this person or this organization simply because they're value driven. And that leads to stability and longevity. So you're going to attract and inspire and motivate people.
Yeah. If you think, have you ever had a leader or met a leader that you weren't underneath and you were so impressed of who they are and how they did? I'd go work for them.
Right.
I wish they could be my boss. Right. It's the same kind of thing with having a healthy environment with these values. It's very attractional. Mm-hmm. It's very powerful.
It really is.
And as Jared said, it brings stability. Because people want to be part of it. They're engaged. They're willing to work and more willing to be considerate of one another in the process as well. Mm-hmm. And that brings stability to your organization, your organizational family, so to speak. And of course, the healthier you are, the more longevity that's going to bring.
Right.
If you have a clear vision, purpose, direction, healthy environment, you're going to go places, and it's going to be for a long time. Yeah,
I think too, as we talk about, obviously, the values providing purpose, direction, identity, and then stability, longevity, inspire, and motivate. It's interesting too because once you have those riverbanks, those values in place, people can kind of self-police themselves.
Right.
They're filtering their ideas and what they would like to contribute and what they want to bring to the table, and they already know intuitively, hey, this is not going to line up with, or this is my filter, and yes, it absolutely will line up with our values.
Filter is a good word.
So it really helps to filter people's thoughts as they're trying to move that ball forward for whatever organization they're in. Yeah. So,
got another quote for you here. Culture is not an initiative. Culture is the enabler of initiatives, right? So the culture isn't the destination. It's not the purpose in and of itself.
Right.
But having that healthy culture is going to help you move your organization forward. Be creative,
right?
Be spontaneous,
absolutely.
Filtering through the values. Are we doing this because of who we are and why we're here, and just moving forward with it. So it enables new initiatives, right?
Right.
Innovation. And innovation's big
for real
for any organization, and it's really a healthy organization drives.
Really innovation. Is. So talk, Bill. You have these next three things. Yeah. Coaching, establishing, creating. What are we talking about here in this next portion?
So, just the fundamentals, I guess, the bare bones of establishing. What do you do? What are the action items? What can you do to actually bring about this healthy culture? And again, as Jared and I talked and we reviewed this material, we came up with 3 different things to help you take action on, to start moving towards and creating. If you're not in a healthy culture, or you're in a pretty good healthy culture and you want to make it healthier, right. Or if you're just starting from scratch, this is a new organization, we're beginning. That's a great place to be because you're starting from scratch. You're setting things up at, no one to argue or fight or cause, right. Change the direction of your momentum or undercurrent to pull you off track. But anyways, I'm digressing, getting to the point. So 3 things that are fundamental to creating and establishing a healthy behavior. 1, you coach people to the behaviors.
Why do you use the word coach?
Yeah, because you're not going to manipulate, right? You don't want to be a micromanager. You want to make sure they're staying empowered and partnering in the process of their own development.
So it's like feeding a baby. You don't want to shove the values of the food down their mouth. You just want to simply...
This goes back to, we've said before in previous episodes, there's so many parallels between parenting and leadership. And, I want my kids to grow up and be the best them they can be. Right. I don't want them to be clones of me exactly. I have 3 children. They each have their own unique, separate giftedness, abilities,
Identity,
strengths, identity, desires, passions. There are different things that set them off, so to speak, at what motivates them, where they really get passionate about. And I don't want to curb them away from that. I want to build an environment around that where they feel safe and can practice doing it. So when they leave the house,
Right.
they're ready to go. They're able to continue on in that direction.
And that's a coaching approach as opposed to like,
directorial or
dictatorship
kind of thing. So coaching, huge. Establishing systems is number 2. So you want to coach people to their behaviors, and you want to establish some systems, procedures, policies, probably around your values of how you go about how you do the work, right? Because it's not only important about why you're doing something, but it also matters how you do it. You want to do it with integrity, right? You want to do it so no one else gets left behind. Maybe you want to do it. There's going to be some legal aspects you're going to need to protect your organization from. Legally, you're going to be required to do things a certain way. So just setting up these systems is going to help establish those riverbanks that you talked about.
No, it really. I remember I spent a good 7 years in building construction. I may have mentioned this before in an episode, but I did framing of commercial homes and commercial homes for elderly people and complexes, and I did a lot of houses, residential framing. And the 2 companies that I worked for, one was my first company that I worked for. The guy had come from the second company that I worked for, so it was the same systems, the same procedures. And they had the best, I think they still do, to my knowledge, the best systems established for framing the actual wood structures of the buildings and the homes. And I remember the first day that I learned this. I was young, probably, I think I was 18 years old, and I was pulling up to, one of the first jobs I had done. Again, this is like one of my best friends and his brother who owned this company that I started working for at a young age. And we pulled into the job, and our foundation was ready. Obviously, we're going to frame the house. And there was a house that had its first floor walls up, and they were working on building their second floor walls. Again, this is just a 2-story colonial type house. And my boss made a very, what I thought was arrogant statement. He said, "We'll beat them." What do you mean we'll beat them? They got their second floor walls almost ready to stand. He goes, "Yeah, we'll beat them. We'll finish before they do." I'm thinking, what? What are you going to finish before they do? And we did. We did.
What happened?
What happened was they did, I didn't have anything to do with this. They had created a system of framing that worked. And the 2 of them obviously had worked on this themselves for years from a young age. And then what I began to realize is the longer I worked with them, if you wanted to continue working with them, you had to adopt these systems. And they didn't force it by any means, but they were super good at teaching it. And so they would just pass on their knowledge. And we kind of joked about it after a while of working. It's like you're painting by numbers. They made it easy. They made it enjoyable. And I think it was just genius. But everybody coming to work, you kind of knew. And then when it came time for me to be kind of a junior foreman, I remember getting to teach these systems to other people. And sometimes you would bump into somebody's like, "I'm not doing that. I've been framing for 25 years. I'm not doing this." I'm like, "Would you just try it? Would you just give it a shot maybe and see what happens?" And those that did were like, "Oh my gosh," eyes wide open. And so it was an easy sell.
Wow.
And you did have a few people who were pretty reluctant, arrogance got in their way. But I remember, man, if you got serious established systems in place, that's just the physical aspect of how beneficial they are.
You almost think of, I love behind the scenes footage of any movie, right? And how, I like the bonus content almost as I like watching the movie.
Yeah.
And I think of Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and all the wonderful bonus features. But the music, the orchestra that comes together, and they have to work together in some sort of system to bring forth this wonderful sound. And it's no different than that. These systems really bring that to your organization. If you can structure it in a way that gets everyone in together, going the same way, in the same direction, and cooperating together, it's beautiful music.
And it really lends itself to efficiency, I think is what it was one thing that I learned doing this. I mean, part of the reason why we would often pull into a job like that with another crew beside us and we'd often finish before they did is because the system was efficient. So I remember pulling in to help on a job once, and this was a 112,000, I think, square foot building. Huge. And the way we had done things is when you build your first floor walls, you start building your second deck. As soon as that second platform is finished, the plywood's on it, one guy goes down and starts building the first floor stairs so that you can carry stuff up the stairs if you need to. Going up and down is a lot more efficient than going up a ladder on the side of the building. We had shown up on this 112,000 square foot building, and it was 3 stories done on 2 wings of it, and the second story was being done on the other wing. And there was only one completed staircase at the far end of the building. And then they had a ladder going up 2.5 stories into a window. Oh, wow. And we just looked at each other and he said, this isn't efficient. Yeah. They don't have established systems that they're following to help them and guide them.
You know, and I think it's the SEALs, the Navy SEALs that have the motto, you know, you got to go slow to go fast.
Right.
Right. So you may actually need to slow down for a moment to create some of these systems, put them in place, educate your people, and to move forward. But you're going to, again, pick up the speed on the back end of that. That's going to more than make up for the time that you spent slowing down. It really will. As long as you don't have any looming deadlines coming up that may get in the way kind of thing. So we talked about coaching behaviors, establishing systems, and creating symbols is another way.
It's huge.
So what do you mean by creating symbols? It's part of the identity, right? You know, you think about FedEx, you can think of their logo. You think of Coca-Cola, you can think of their logo, Pepsi, so forth. There is this identity. Even a church, we have a cross, right? That's kind of our identifying mark, our symbol.
It is, yeah.
It leaves you no question about what each organization is about.
Yeah.
So creating symbols, when we did the 50th anniversary celebration, we got T-shirts. We came up with a logo and got T-shirts and a banner we hung in our church, and it gave identity to what we were doing and why we were doing it.
I've got another construction, story for you here that lends itself. When you said it makes you feel like you're identifying with this is like who we are. Man, this is cool. I remember one day working and realizing that the roofing crew who was on our job, separate crew, they looked so professional. They all had matching T-shirts, matching sweatshirts, matching hats. Their truck logos were all the same. And I remember going to my boss, and because I knew the way he thought, I knew him really well. And I was like, look, Nate, look at how good they look, man. And then look at us. Like, I got this and he's got that. And I kind of pushed him like, dude, we don't look very professional. And so that Christmas, like 3 months later, we all had brand new swag. We all had brand new sweatshirts, nice. New hats, new T-shirts, all with the logo. And I still have mine because one of my hats actually has, my name on the back of it. My personal name on the company's name. Yeah. It was really cool to be like, you show up at work and you all match.
What did it do for the attitude of the crew?
It does. It lifts you up a little bit, and you feel like you're part of, right, this organization. You have
a belonging,
and kind of an identity with the company itself. And I know, some guys are out there, they're like, it's just a shirt, whatever. But I think it's psychological. There's a psychological part of that.
There is.
The symbols kind of give you that identity and help to create that cohesive unit. Yeah. So again, those fundamentals for establishing a healthy culture, start coaching behaviors, right? Start establishing systems, and maybe utilize some symbols.
Yeah, good stuff. Jared, you've got a reminder for us.
Yeah. So reminder, have you seen the movie Remember the Titans? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Denzel Washington, the football team.
It's a good
movie.
Kind of
some racial issues going on there at that time. And one of the players says to the other players, he's supposed to be the leader, right? So he looked at him and the team was dysfunctional. He said, look, attitude reflects leadership. And when I heard that quote, I was stunned because in those movies that you're watching, it's a movie, but sometimes they have this quote, like Gladiator, what we do in this life echoes in eternity. It's another one, right?
Yeah.
But this one, attitude reflects leadership. And an unhealthy leader cannot create a healthy culture. So when we're going to talk about these fundamentals in coaching and establishing and creating, one of the first things we need to realize is we're the ones to work on first.
Yeah.
Right. We're our first pupil, so to speak. And an unhealthy leader can't create a healthy culture. And even if he does, even if he pulls it off, the longevity and the stability won't be there.
No.
So
go back and watch our episode 2 where we talked the greatest challenge is leading yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, that is so true. You can't lead above who you are. You know, you teach what you know, but you reproduce who you are.
By the way, we made it 25 minutes without quoting Maxwell, so that was pretty good. But no, it's so true. We teach what we know, but we reproduce who we are. Hence, attitude reflects leadership.
It's huge.
I mean, it ties in the whole idea of values and what they bring to the table and how we implement them. It starts with us.
And so many leaders just want the title of leader so they can get all the benefits of being a leader.
Right.
And we mentioned this before.
We did.
But not without the sacrifice, the effort, the sweat that goes into being a leader. So
it's huge.
It's not a path for the faint-hearted.
No.
You know, if you want to be a leader, man, expect great things because you're going to contribute to people's lives. People are going to just look up to you and be so thankful for the value and what you're doing and the example you live. But it's just like parenting, man. It takes a lot of work, sacrifice, and
I think too we're about to bring this home, and we're going to talk about change for a minute, because whenever we talk about these different leadership principles, especially this topic here of creating a healthy culture, if you're in an organization or you're running an organization or you own an organization that's dysfunctional and you're like, I needed this information, like this is going to be super helpful.
Yeah.
We got to spend at least a minute or two talking about change and how important that is and what that does. Because you may be looking at, this is going to be a big change. So how do I do this as far as it pertains, baby steps, we would encourage you. But you had some thoughts on this, Bill.
Yeah, and just before I get to those thoughts, I was listening to another leadership podcast, Carey Nieuwhof, earlier this week.
Really good.
He had a guest on, and he made a passing comment about creating a healthy culture that kind of boils it down. So I think everything we talked about is very applicable. It works. Jared and I tried and true, tested it over the years.
I've done a lot of this, yeah.
Yeah. But one thing this guy called out, if you kind of want to boil this down, and if you want a simple place to start, creating culture is just about how you talk about and how you talk to each other. It's how you talk about and how you talk to one another. That's where to start. Are you always complaining about someone, always putting someone down? Or are you finding the positive and say, you did this really well, you're really good, I appreciate you. So it's about how we talk about each other and how we talk to each other. But start baby steps. As you go about to create or make an impact on your culture, wherever it is, and you want to bring it up to the next level, take baby steps, work on it consistently, make it daily. But as you make these changes, it's going to build momentum. You're going to find as you move forward, it's really difficult at first, but then it's going to continue. You're going to break through. You're going to get some momentum. Then you have another challenge, continue with the consistency. You're going to break through. It's going to bring more momentum. So change is going to create momentum in regards to building this healthy culture. So I guess my question for y'all before we're done is, what do you need to change yourself to start creating that healthy culture? What do you think your first step is? And what are you going to do about it? Yeah. If you've got something coming to your mind right now, I encourage you to go write it down. Yeah. Go write it down and act on it. And maybe ask someone, hey, this is what I need to do for us to change our culture. Hold me accountable. Ask me how we're doing on this in 2-3 weeks and a month from now and talk about that.
I would suggest including your core people in doing this.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you can't sell your core group on change, that's like adding another hill on your uphill battle.
Yeah, and a topic for another time is that you may have someone who's totally against these changes, and that may be coming to a point of, just moving that person out of the organ. Coach them up, coach them up, or coach them out.
One or the other.
Right. So I'm going to leave you one last quote, and that'll be it for today. And that is again from one of our favorite, John Maxwell.
Oh yeah.
He just has such a great impact in Jared and I's life. We've never met the man. But
wouldn't say no to meeting him though.
No, I wouldn't either. But his material is just so valuable. His organization. Anyway, the quote: "Don't tell them what you're going to do. That's vision. do what you're going to do. That's culture. So thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I hope you found something valuable today.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.